Welcome to the Freedom Hustles podcast, where host John and Andy take you on a journey of liberation away from the 9-to-5 grind. Explore side hustles, remote work, and the skills to help you unlock true freedom. Brought to you by freedomskillsacademy.com, this podcast is your gateway to independence and financial empowerment.
And there we go again. So welcome to episode 58. So a little bit different again tonight. I'm going to be talking something a little bit not really I'm not too familiar with it, but something that Andy's been reading up on, and we're just going to have a general chat about that. Hopefully you'll be able to get some good takeaways from it. So Andy, how you doing? Do you want to lead us?
Yeah, I'm not too bad yourself.
Yep, I'm all right, mate.
Yes. So basically, I'm going to talk about tonight. I mean, you say you don't know much about it, but you actually probably know more about it than you realise, because it's something that we've discussed and seen before. And I got this book from, I don't know if anybody can see that. It's a guy called Ben Settle. He's a quite legendary copywriter, email marketer, and it's called BizWorld. And it's like he says he gets asked to talk about what he calls world building. And he says a lot of it goes back to when he used to play Dungeons and Dragons, how they used to build worlds as opposed to creating a set of rules and a set of this and the other. And it's not about building a business, it's about building a world. Because, as he puts it, if you build a business, because obviously the world's changing, there's all this kind of, as we know, there's everybody's trying to be more sort of, there's lots of people saying it's woke marketing or it's this, that, and the other, or you're a bit outdated or whatever. He says that if you've got a business, it can be cancelled. It can be complained about, it can be cancelled. People can boycott a business, but it's very hard to boycott a person. And you build a world, and the whole purpose of that is that I've heard it be called many times before, like a personal brand. You build a personality or a brand that people either like or they hate. And if they like, and they just basically want to get involved, and they'll buy everything that you publish, or they'll read everything that you publish, they'll watch everything that you record, everything. They'll be like Gary Vaynerchuk, and Russell Brunson. They've got their what they call fanboys, aren't there? There's people who would basically go to war and die for them. Yeah. That kind of sort of mentality. Because we know that Russell Brunson's got ClickFunnels. We know that he's got ScriptFunnels, and he's got lots of other businesses. But Russell Brunson is basically Russell Brunson. Everybody knows him, and the chances are, if ClickFunnels and everything else had collapsed, he'd still be making money because he's Russell Brunson.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all about building worlds, and like I said, a lot of it stems. He says it comes natural to him. People ask him to talk about it, and so he's done these talks. And he did this book. This book is on Amazon. And it's a collection of his previous sort of seminars and emails, articles that he's written about the topic. But people often say, can you give us like a blueprint to follow? And it's like, well, no, I can't give you a blueprint because it's different for everybody. And he often references Narnia. I've never actually seen the films or read the books myself, but he talks about how the children escape war-torn England and go through this wardrobe into this fantasy world where they can't wait to go back to. They don't want to leave, and when they do leave, they can't wait to go back. And it's like they're itching to get involved in it. It becomes like an obsession. And he says that's what you need to build with people. And he did it once with a Facebook group, and with that Facebook group, you then start to create. I mean, we've talked about this before in copywriting. You create sort of enemies, and then you align with other people, and then you create your own sort of language. I mean, it's was it Tolkien, or I can't remember. Some of these authors are creating their own language, which, I mean, I think it was Klingon, Star Trek Klingon. They've created their own language, and now all these Trekkies live in this Trekkie world.
Yeah.
Speak Klingon. It's not even a real language. It's not a real planet. It's not. But they turn up dressed up like Klingons, and they live like Klingons, and they buy Klingon toys because Star Trek has created this Star Wars. Harry Potter. I mean, J.K. Rowling, again, she's having a lot of controversy at the moment to do with whatever she's speaking about with the transgender and the transphobia and all that lot. But either way, and there's people saying, "Oh, well, we're going to boycott this." She's going to be still making money left.
Doesn't matter.
Harry Potter world has outgrown her. Do you know what I mean? Her business just cannot be cancelled. It'll probably die one day of age. But if you think about Roald Dahl, his books are still loved today. So it's going to take a lot for her world to be destroyed and cancelled because there's so many people who are so obsessed, die hard living it. And so that's basically what Ben Settle is talking about. Don't build a business, build a world.
I think you touched, there was a couple of points on there that you made there, which I want to just sort of touch upon. And that is that, I mean, one of them was, you almost said about some people are going to hate them. Some people are going to hate them, but other people are going to love them. And that's kind of what you want, isn't it? You don't kind of want to always go down that centralist sort of route. We're not talking politics here. I mean, politics, fine. Most people will probably agree that, centralism is a lot of people would go down that route, but then you've got like sort of populism, people like Donald Trump and Nigel Farage and all that. They're just attaching themselves to like, real kind of sort of obvious pain points, if you like, of those type of people. We're not going to go into the nitty-gritty of that, but people who know those people will understand what we're talking about. So they literally only talk about those things. And those are the things that all their die-hard fans are mad passionate about. So that's their narrative. So they don't need to they don't want to go and talk about, planting trees and saving the dolphins, because no one's going to care. They're not, that's not their audience. But when they do talk about the stuff that is on their audience's radar, that's what they get. And like you say, Donald Trump's been shut down. He's been kicked off various platforms and this and the other. He's been threatened with court junctions and everything like this. Has it made a difference? No. He's probably more popular now than what he was the second time around. And it just sort of goes to show. So obviously, we're not talking about that, but switching it round to sort of like the marketing world and, like our little kind of tiny part of the planet, which you might try and sell digital products, or you might try and, sell courses, or, create a Facebook group, or whatever it is you're trying to do in that kind of online sort of world. That's a kind of an interesting way to look at it, I think. I've not sort of thought of it that way before, but I think I know what you sort of mean now. Yeah.
You're building a personal brand. I mean, what you said there about Trump is a perfect example of building a world. He's built a world to the point where, like you say, he's been fined millions just recently, papers, and he's done this and the other, and yet there are still some MAGA fans who are so obsessed with him that they just can't see, and they refuse to see, and even if they do see, they refuse to give up supporting him because they love him. Yeah. It's they're in his world. They're eating and breathing everything that he says, and it doesn't matter. I mean, going back to him and Nigel Farage, I tend to call them polarizing profiteers. And Piers Morgan is another one. They know full well that by causing division and causing polarizing certain people, they know that they're going to profit all the time. Which is why Nigel Farage, Trump, and Piers Morgan. I mean, this is going slightly off topics. I don't necessarily say you should become controversial and polarizing on purpose and start waffling rubbish. But you only have to look at Piers Morgan to see that he contradicts himself daily. He's contradicting himself. One day he'll say one thing, next day he'll say the other, and it's like and I don't know if he can't pathologically see that, or if he just chooses to do it because he don't care, because he knows that he's going to rile people up, and everybody's going to be talking to him. Everybody's going to be replying, and he'll still end up on TV. I mean, Nigel Farage was supposedly making £500 a day for just being Nigel Farage.
No doubt there's something there,
yeah. He was being interviewed on TV, and the guy's never been a proper politician. He was once beaten in a by-election as a bloke dressed as a dolphin. He's never actually been a proper politician, yet they always bring him on because he was like the voice of Brexit. And why was he the voice of Brexit? But he built this world around him, and it's not particularly a nice world, but he built this world, and whether we can't take away from...
you kind of have to. I'd never want to say the word Nigel Farage and admire in the same sentence, but you you kind of have to, like that strategy works. Put it that way. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So flipping it back to kind of more sort of what we're talking about. Obviously, we're not. I guess what it boils down to is, number one, you aren't going to please everyone. Not everyone's going to like you. I wouldn't say like, but you know what I mean? Like your methods, like your strategies, like the way you deliver stuff, whatever. And those people, you don't have to worry about. Okay. They've already done you the favor. They've done you the favor of not wasting their time with you. So good. Forget that. You only need to concentrate on the people that, do like the way you come across, or do like the way you present your products, or do like the way you, I don't know, distribute your courses in a certain manner, or the way you help and respond to feedback, or, there's a whole manner of things. But essentially, and that's basically it. And then you kind of want to just start there, don't you? And then you sort of see what those people are resonating with. And then you kind of build your sort of tribe, if you like, not for a better word. I don't really like that word, but if you kind of, you build your sort of following, or your, people, or your world in this case,
I'll give you
around that.
I'll give you a good a bit of this is food for thought. One of the things that Ben says in his book, and that is that he was able to sell a ton of stuff, and he never actually polled his audience to see if they needed it. I think he had he got like a sixth sense, because when you're working and talking with people, you kind of think, oh, they know that. You don't need to ask. You sort of know. But the other thing is, he'll probably often think to himself, I fancy making that product, and he'll make it and sell it, mainly because everybody was interested in buying the next Ben Settle product, whether they needed it or not. He didn't necessarily. He's got to a point where he can put anything out and people will buy it, whether they need it. He said there was one time where they were doing a wine. They came up with this idea with his business partner Troy about doing like a wine weekend, if I remember rightly. It was basically going to be setting a winery somewhere, vineyard, and it was probably say it's like a room for 200 people, and it was just a case of they had no plan. They didn't even know what they were going to talk about. It was just going to be there. Come and meet Ben. Come and meet Troy. We'll have a few drinks and a giggle and talk about stuff. And it was probably one of the fastest selling products they had, because basically people just wanted to be there to see and talk to Ben. They just wanted to be in his world. Didn't even know what they're going to talk about. It's not. That was kind of the world that he built. He built. It's like it is personal branding. It's just you just sort of celebrities. You see it all the time now. You never really think about it, but you go to Instagram, you see Kate Lawler and sort of Alison Hammond from Big Brother. Look at their sort of rise to fame, their TV channels, the programs that they're on, all because of who they are, basically. They were kicked into celebrity stardom, but then they just walk around now filming themselves on Instagram, broadcasting their lives, and then all you got to do is Kate Lawler. She got a book deal, which I mean, it's probably wrong for me to say this, but I think she was approached by the book company because she was having a child. She was kind of late in labour, sort of age-wise, but she's had her first child, and she was documenting on Instagram, and she's got probably like 500,000 Instagram followers. So somebody's obviously come along and says, "Kate, you do you fancy doing a book about parenting?" Because there's a ready-made market there. Because all you got to know, she starts saying, "I'm doing this book for. Oh, I've not been able to say too much, but I've got this book coming. Oh, when's it coming out?" Suddenly, everybody wants to buy it because it's Kate Lawler's book. There's probably even people who haven't got children or got grown-up children will buy it just because they want to read about Kate's story as a mother.
That's a good point, actually, about that. I mean, that is a platform which I really like, Instagram, and you can do that. Like Instagram stories is actually a good way to sort of get your kind of, I don't know, a little bit sort of more. You can be a little bit more personal with regards to stories. You can share stuff that doesn't necessarily have to add much value, if any value. But the whole point of stories is it's a little bit sort of, behind the scenes. This is what goes on. Here's a bit of the daily life, the normal stuff that I do. And and people like that. You know what I mean? I share quite a bit on Instagram stories. Sometimes things like, I'll just be it might just be me. If I've got a little thought, I might just click the video on and just say a little quick something. I'm just off to do this, that, and the other, or an eBay sale, or something like that, and then I'll just share that quickly. Or sometimes it'll just be like a little picture of something like the cat, or like darts night. Just some more kind of personal things.
And that will align with certain people. They'll go, oh, you see, I like John Banks because, he does darts. I play darts. He's got a cat. I like cats. And I'm into marketing. And so they'll probably align with you.
It's weird how it works. Yeah. And then, like you say, you do get that. In actual fact, you can end up forming bonds and relationships through stories. I've had people message me. The other week, I shared quite a few. We've talked about this loads of times, but the other week on stories, I've shared just a little snapshot of the survey sites that keep cropping up on my computer.
I messaged you about
that. Yeah, and then I've had people. Yeah, we were chatting on there the other day. Yeah. So I've had people that I haven't ever spoke to on Instagram, but they follow me, and then they've just messaged me out of the blue because of the story, and they've gone, "What's that?" And I'll go, "Well, it's a survey site." And then they go, "Oh, where's that? Where do I find information about that?" And then, perfect. You just send them to a blog post that you've written about it, or a video that you've written about, or done about it, or podcast that you've shared about it, or a product even that you've got about it. And before you know it, they're on your website, they're clicking through, or they might become a buyer one day, or they might sign up to your email list. And that's literally just through sharing a one picture image of me on my computer at home. It took all 10 seconds to do. So yeah, that's kind of like that sort of thing. And it's a very strange one. People, you always have to think differently, because what you like and what you do isn't what everyone else does. So I don't click through stories on Instagram. I don't do that. I don't sit there and scroll through Instagram stories. I might do it on one or two people. If something comes up I haven't seen for ages, that's going to be the other one about. But some people must, because there's no way that, why would anyone just choose? There's a few people, obviously, that for whatever reason, they're going to go, "Oh, John's posted again, let's have a look." But most people, I would imagine, are just scrolling through, right?
Well, you just said that you just click on a few, and that's because you have basically become involved in their world. So those are one or two worlds that you've kind of aligned with and got involved in. And that's why you choose them over them. And that's kind of like what Ben's talking about, is that you become something, you become the person that they want to be involved with over somebody else.
Yeah.
And especially today as well. And I think what I like about Ben's story, his book, or about building these worlds, which I think is vital now, especially as we're now approaching the day of AI and faceless.
Oh Christ!
Yeah. So, we've always talked about faceless corporations. We've talked about businesses having a face on it, and I think now that's going to be even more vital, more important to actually be a person, because there's
real, an actual real someone that people can have a conversation with. It's going to be more like that, I think, in the future. There's going to be a lot more. I don't know what's the right term for it, but sort of like relationship marketing, I guess, in a weird kind of way. Do you know what I mean? Actual. We're kind of talking about something at the moment which is sort of tailored around that. So very much friendships, building up that trust, maybe having a long conversation for a long time before anything's ever pitched across the table. But like build up that sort of trust, build up that friendship, share a load of stuff together, and then eventually maybe, okay, well, I might have something that you're interested in. But
you mentioned it there. A prime example, you just said about how you got messages from people over your stories. I don't generally do a lot of stories. I did one today, the first time for a long time, and I got a message from someone. All I did was share a photograph of myself having a coffee on the balcony with a view, and I said, you can't beat a coffee with a view. And then someone messaged me saying, "Oh yeah, I can't wait for the weather to improve in the UK so I can have a coffee outside again."
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, it is just a conversation, and that is what is going to be the future, is people talk to people. That's got to be another podcast in the future, because we've talked about the organic attraction marketing, which in many ways is exactly what they're talking about in Ben's book, and that's building worlds. They use their Facebook Instagram, TikTok profiles to build this world of being an affiliate marketer or a digital producer, digital content creator.
Mm.
And they get people into that world, and then they end up making money off them who want to learn more. So yeah, creating a world. I mean, these people, I know them as names. I don't know their businesses particularly. I know that they're affiliate marketers, and I know that they talk about, they have this business online, whatever. But they haven't got, it's not like going to Schweppes or Marks and Spencers. There's no business name. I just know them as people that I'm within that world.
Another little, yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, another thing, I guess, which is, I mean, I don't know if it's relevant really, but I guess it is. And that's kind of like, once you have that sort of world, if you like, or, that core following, that kind of core follow base, that's when you really, really will see the effect of sort of like, like the 80-20 rule, and, there'll be margins either side of that. But that is when you really will start to see that, I'd imagine, because, once you have products, you have options, right? So, you will get, there's always, you hear about this all the time, like 80% of your sales will come from 20% of your following or whatever it is, or maybe 90% and 10% or something. I don't know the exact number, but there will be that offset there. And that's going to be the same with this. You get to a point where, and we're not talking just churn out any old crap, but you will get to a point where you will be able to make stuff, and you'll probably be able to, come up with another course in 6 months or a year's time. And you may find that a large group of the people that bought the previous one will go on and buy the next one. And that's, can often be the case. Obviously, you always want to be looking at, like trying to get new buyers and new people of interest, obviously. But, you will find that.
That brings me to another good point, which Ben was saying as well, and that is, I don't think he does any. He might have his little lead magnets or whatever, but he doesn't particularly do anything active for getting new leads. His fans do it on his behalf. Basically, people like we're discussing now. We both read his emails. We both, I've got his book, and we're both talking about it. Other people will go around and say, "No, you want to learn email marketing? You want to go check out Ben Settle?" I heard about Ben Settle from another guy called Mike. So we are in Ben's world. He's set this world. He's got these products out there. He's got books on Amazon. That's part of his world building. Is because people go and I've read this, and they read it, and then they go and read the next one, and then they just putting products out is his way, I suppose, getting people into his world, and then the rest is basically by other people going around and talking about him, like I'm talking about him now. Ben Settle, a legendary copywriter in email marketing, a little bit controversial at times, but he knows his stuff.
But that's why that the controversy is a big plus point, I think. I'm relatively new to his email list. I must admit, I've only signed up sort of a few months ago, but and I think the controversy is one of the reasons why he is so good and so popular, because again, he's clearly not trying to please everyone. Definitely not trying to please everyone. But and that's part of his sort of selling point, really, I think.
And that's also brought me around to what I think should be another podcast in the future. He often talks about troll marketing, and that is where you'll see quite a few people doing it now. I've seen a few great examples on Instagram just recently, and that is the people who come into his world who don't like his world can't help but send him an email complaining or moaning about him being a sexist pig or a bit too far right or whatever, and he'll take that email and then he'll turn it into emails and whatever, and he'll use it as like
content, doesn't he?
Use it as content, and it'll be like he'll explain why this person's a bit of a nutter for emailing him and complaining, and then it's like, and you can see a lot of the time it's like, they've just basically just giving you more cannon fodder.
So whatever you do, if you wanted one takeaway you're going to take away from this podcast is, if you do go over and sign up to Ben's email list, don't reply saying with any sort of bad advice or anything like that, because he will probably use it against you. Just keep
just read it, and if you don't like it, unsubscribe, because you'll soon be you'll be in several editions.
The material,
yeah. But But I mean, again, it just sort of makes sense, and it's world building because, like I said, you create your villains. I mean, you look at, and I really don't want to give them any more airplay, but obviously we are because of that's the world they build. But you think of Trump and Farage and stuff like that; they create enemies.
Oh yeah,
purposely because they know that the humans like to have enemies. There was a great article about how was it Hungary's politicians got in. They were far right politicians, but the actual campaign was set up by some Jews, believe it or not. But they purposely got. This is why the George Soros, whatever his name is, became a big conspiracy thing, because he was Hungarian and out of the country. They needed to create an enemy so that the population could blame, or the politician could blame, a bit like the Nazis did in Germany. They picked a vulnerable people, an enemy, who couldn't basically punch back, and they got swept into power. And this is exactly what happened. And this is what politicians do. And this is obviously what Ben's doing to it at a certain degree, is you create enemies or nasty people, or the bogeyman, the sort of the people you should stay away from. And people in that tribe, the obsessed people, be like, oh yeah, and they all get on side, and it creates that sort of shared gang feeling or family
exactly
feeling.
What it is. It's called conquer and divide. It's just or divide and conquer. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They have to make a division, and then once they make that division, then you basically just pick a side, and it's all about that sort of stirring up and prodding.
Stirring up is perfect example, and that's what the troll marketing does. I mean, you've got all these sort of fanboy. Ben Settle fanboys who are loving his emails, and then suddenly he'll publish this one where he's had some complaints, and they'll be like, "Whoa, look at this!" and "Hey, what an idiot!" and it just fires them up, and that gets them even more, into his
more
world.
likely to, exactly. Okay, well, interesting podcast this evening.
We've covered a few things I never expected.
I hope you got some. Maybe got some takeaways from that. That was a good chat actually. There was definitely some interesting takeaways. Hopefully people got some value from that. If not,
enjoy it for what it is.
It was an interesting debate. We probably tread thin a little bit on a couple of occasions, but we didn't cross the line. Everything was fine. So
maybe we should have done.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks very much for listening. That was episode 58, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Freedom Hustles podcast. We hope you found inspiration and insights to help fuel your journey towards freedom. Don't forget to join our free newsletter at freedomskillsacademy.com/newsletter, where you can find exclusive tips, updates, and resources to help elevate your hustle. Until next time, keep hustling towards your dreams.